Welcome to From Chaos to Code, Rebuilding the Iron Mind, where we talk about the real side of men's health. Not the Instagram highlight reel, not the fake stoicism, but the honest effects that happen when life hits you harder than any workout ever could. I'm your host, Ricardo, and I've lived a few different lives. Teacher, property manager, MMA promoter, garage mechanic, handyman, empath. I've been the man everyone leans on, the one who fixes things. Until the weight of it all almost broke me. Here, we want to talk about what that really costs. When being the strong one becomes survival instead of strength. How burnout, silence, and pride slowly eat away at you until you realize you've built armor so thick that you can't even breathe under it. This isn't about weakness, it's about rebuilding. Learning that real strength isn't about how much you can carry. It's about knowing when to set it down. So let's start there, with the cost of being the strong one and what it actually takes to reclaim your iron mind. Welcome back to From Chaos to Code. This is episode 3. This episode is entitled When the Old You Disappears, Rebuilding the Man Beneath the Titles. Now today I want to talk about something every man faces at some point when the version of you that used to work stops working. When the job slows down, the relationship ends, the title fades, and you're left asking, who am I without all of that? And that's where this conversation is going to start, at the collapse. We'll talk about what happens when your identity disappears and how to rebuild it, piece by piece, into something stronger. Now we'll go through what I like to call the 5 pillars: identity, purpose, mission, code, and legacy. Each one builds on the other, and together they form what I think of as the blueprint for rebuilding the man beneath the titles. Now keep in mind, this isn't about perfection or performance. It's about finding direction, discipline, and meaning when life strips everything else away. Because sometimes the breakdown is the beginning of something better. So today let's start there, with the moment when the old you disappears. As I stated, before we get into any of the 5 pillars, we are faced with the collapse. And every man eventually hits that point where the life he built just stops working. The titles, the routines, that image that you had of yourself, or the image you perceive others to have of you, is gone. And what are you left with? You're left with that deafening quiet. Now at this point, I'm in my early 40s. I'm a teacher, a property manager, an MMA broadcast lead, amongst many other things. And for most of my life, I've been the guy spinning 12 plates at once. Productive, controlled, reliable, lives on my phone, answers any time of day or night. But somewhere along the way, all that control became my identity. So I didn't really know where the work ended and where I began. Then, of course, life shifted. That kind of shift that doesn't ask permission. Now, things will always happen beyond your control, or sometimes you're the one who has to make the hard call. And when the dust settles, the noise that once filled your world just dies down. I remember sitting in that silence, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the man left standing. That's when it hit me. That's when I realized this isn't the end. This is the starting line. Now, psychologists often refer to this interaction as role loss. It's what happens when the structures that once defined your life, your job, your relationship, your identity, they disappear overnight. There was a 2015 review in social and personality psychology Compass that looked into this exact thing. It showed how people going through sudden identity collapse often feel the same emotions as grief. Confusion, anxiety, that's a free-fall feeling. But the researchers also found something hopeful. Those same moments can spark transformation if you rebuild from purpose instead of panic. And I'll be honest, one of the things that kept me grounded during that time was reading Dr. Jordan Peterson. Now, I am a massive fan of his work, but I will admit this. The first time I opened his book, 12 Rules for Life, I could not finish it. I actually felt guilty reading it because the man he described wasn't me. Not then. So I set it down for almost a year. But later it clicked. I don't have to be that man right now. I can become him. So when I picked that book back up, I read it differently. I wasn't just reading about discipline or responsibility, I was reading about rebirth. Now, Peterson writes, when you have something to aim at, you're a lot happier than when you don't. And he's right. When that aim disappears, we start chasing smaller ones. The quick dopamine hits, the distractions, the validation. It could be social media, it could be porn, could be drugs, could be losing yourself in work, losing yourself in the garage, downloading dating apps just to get some sort of validation. But chaos isn't punishment. It's a forge. It burns away everything false until what's left is what's real. That's when I realized I'd been building roles, not roots. And when the roles fell away, I finally saw the man underneath. After that collapse, it brought me to Pillar 1, the rediscovering of identity. Now, no matter what, everything takes a backseat until you answer one question. Who am I without the title? For years, I defined myself by how useful I was to work, to friends, to women. If I wasn't fixing something or helping in some way, I felt like I had no value. And that constant need to prove my worth through action, well, it became my identity. Nowadays, I'm learning to define myself differently, not by how much I give, but by what I stand for, by my values, not by validation. By who I am when I'm not needed, not who I am when I'm useful. I used to think that flexibility was strength, but looking back, it made me marble, smooth, easily shaped by whoever was closest. And remember, you're dealing with an English teacher here, so get ready for the metaphors. Now I try to stay diamond. Pressure doesn't destroy me anymore, it gives me structure. Now, I came up with that analogy in a psychology session once. I was trying to explain why my relationships kept breaking down. I said, I'm not an onion with layers you peel away. I'm not Shrek. I'm a multifaceted diamond. Each facet is part of me, reflecting something different depending on the light, depending on the situation. My problem was I keep choosing people. My problem is I keep choosing people who only want to see one side. One polished facet that suits their comfort. The rest of me? Well, too complex, too intense for their needs. I'm not saying they're beyond comprehension, just for their needs. I can't live like that. I refuse to live like that, pretending to only be one part of myself while the rest gets buried. So I'd ask, who am I really? Who do I want to be? If you're listening to this, try it. Write down 3 words that describe the man you choose to be. For me, it's honest, calm, disciplined. That's the foundation I rebuild from every day. I did a lot of research into this specific episode, and I always make sure that I reference my research. So on YouTube, I'll be putting the APA format for everything that I have researched at the bottom of it. But I'd like to reference psychologist Jennifer Campbell and her studies, something called self-concept clarity. Basically, it's how well you know who you are and what you stand for. Her research in self and identity found that people with a clear sense of self handle stress and change far better than those who don't. Because when you know who you are, when you have confidence in who you are and your identity, life can bend you. It's going to happen. But it can't break you. Nowadays, I stay the hell away from marbles. People with no edges. The simple ones who expect you to carve those facets into who they are by taking away your energy. Keep in mind, I am a teacher, so when I say that, I don't mean children. Your children, my students, they're different. They're not marble at this point. They're not single-sided marbles. They're coal under pressure. They need steady heat, not chaos, to form structure. And that's our job. That's my job as a teacher. That's your job if you're parents. That's your job as role models. And yes, you are a role model to someone. It's our job to model that stability. Your identity here isn't about reinvention. It's about remembrance. It's not who should I become? It's who was I before I forgot. That brings us to pillar 2, purpose, the gravity of discipline. Now, purpose gives weight to discipline. Without it, men drift. They chase dopamine instead of direction. So when everything's fallen apart for me in the past, the gym became my anchor. When I didn't know who I was, the weights, the challenges, they reminded me. I'm a man who shows up. The barbell doesn't care how you feel, it just demands honesty. So physical structure rebuilt my mental structure. And I made sure to carry that for a number of years until, of course, that popular disease COVID hit. And like the rest of the world, I lost that structure overnight. Gyms closed. I was recovering from being sick myself with that garbage. And for a couple of days, I completely lost my identity. It was almost a woe is me. I felt that helplessness take over. But then I talked to some of my brothers. Some of them had lost years of freedom. And they told me what losing freedom is really like. And they came back stronger. I thought about my family, immigrants who left everything behind to build a better life. They didn't quit when things got hard. Quitting isn't an option. That hit me like a punch in the face. One of my brothers sent me a program he used while he was on vacation. It was a bodyweight system based on boxing. Weights later on, no excuses, no actual gym required. I could do it with the simple stuff I had in my garage, and I realized the structure I needed wasn't a building or fancy equipment, it was my mindset. So I embraced it. I still live it to this day, every single day. And I embraced it with what I call an iron mind. In my research, I came across this long-term study from psychological science. Researchers Patrick Hill and Nicholas Turiano followed over 6,000 adults for years. They found that people who had a clear sense of purpose lived longer, healthier lives, not because of luck, but because purpose gives direction when everything else feels meaningless. Peterson has this one quote, and I love when I can hear him say it, not just read it. He says, "Pick up your damn suffering and bear it." Purpose isn't found in comfort. It's forged through carrying something heavy enough to matter. You don't find purpose by overthinking. Same way you don't swim by reading a book. You don't ride a motorcycle by going to Galaxyland and jumping on the kids' rides. You discover it through movement. You discover purpose through movement and service. Start where your feet are. Get going. Mentor someone, a kid, a colleague, anyone who you can be a mentor to. It doesn't have to be someone younger than you. Volunteer your time. It could be formally or maybe informally helping someone. And build one habit that costs you comfort every day. That's right. Don't build a habit that's easy to do. You have to build one that costs you comfort every single day. I'm up at 5:30 every morning to make sure I work out, eat correctly, shower, shave, and am properly dressed before I head out the door. Am I tired sometimes? Absolutely. But I look damn good. And I feel damn good. Because purpose grows where friction meets responsibility. Purpose isn't some dream that's abstract, it's direction. Now, I'm lucky. For me, teaching reignited that direction. I get to mentor young men. I get to show them what grounded strength looks like, especially with the softness that's prevalent these days. Purpose isn't loud. It's steady. It's that quiet hum beneath discipline. And what do you do with that purpose? That brings us to pillar 3. Having a mission, your actual responsibility in motion. Because once you understand why you're here, the next question becomes, for what and for whom? Mission is purpose with direction. Now, for me, mission right now doesn't look glamorous. It looks like showing up consistently. I help my family. I support my friends. I make sure my circle knows that they can lean on me. Especially my colleagues right now, as we're all locked out of work. Some are having a really tough time. It doesn't mean I like it, but I have purpose. So I can help with that responsibility. Mission doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just that steady shadow behind you that says, I've got this. Peterson, once again, you can tell I'm a massive fan, talks about how men should aim to make the world better. You're not a superhero. That doesn't always mean the whole world. Sometimes it just means the part of it that you can actually touch. Your home, your street, your people. There's a Yale psychiatrist, Dr. Stephen Southwick, who spent many decades studying trauma survivors and soldiers. He found that responsibility, even small daily responsibility, is one of the strongest predictors of resilience. So if you find yourself sitting there, lost with purpose, find some damn responsibility, even if it's small. Do it every single day. Because when you take ownership, you take control back. I've said this before in my other podcasts. You are in control. You're not a victim. No one is in charge of you. You have full control. It's not about ego. It's not about status. It's just about having that stability of responsibility. Don't do things to get noticed. I'm Catholic. I'm going to throw in Catholic teachings where Jesus said, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Or was it right and left? Either way, what that means is mission doesn't need applause. You don't need to do it to be noticed. You need to do it for yourself to be consistent. My mission right now is simple. Keep my world steady. And for me, for now, that's enough. Once you have a mission, you can get into Pillar 4. And this is where that podcast comes from, the title, From Chaos to Code. Pillar 4 is your code. What do you do with it? You develop self-governance. That's your code. And then you use it for leadership. Before a man can lead anyone else, he has to learn to lead himself. Leadership begins with self-governance. You are the standard you tolerate. Now, where I grew up, in the groups I grew up in, where loyalty and toughness were survival, right? You learned early to react fast, hit back, stay on guard. That mindset kept you from worse. But it also keeps you tense, and it keeps you tense all the time. Hence, my years of insomnia, my years of not letting my guard down in public. I carried that hypervigilance well into adulthood. I carried it into work. I carried it into relationships. It does build results. You have this control over your safety. But it also built exhaustion. Always trying to be the predator. Always trying to be the aggressor. Making sure no one could ever get it on you. Eventually, I was forced to learn something even harder. Restraint. Doesn't mean I was weak, by no means. I had to learn restraint. That ability to pause instead of explode. To assess instead of react. To stay calm while everything in you wants to fight. Either on the offense or the defense. Now that shift became the start of my code. I realized my rules got a little quieter but sharper. And I can articulate them. I speak less, but I mean more. I stay calm under pressure, and I never let emotion steer my decisions. I'm not perfect, I mean near perfect. And if I break one of those rules, I repair it. Because integrity isn't about never failing, it's about fixing it fast. You know, I'm going to quote Dr. Peterson again because he phrases it simply. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. It sounds small, but it's everything. And where he says don't lie, that doesn't mean to others, that also means to yourself. You might not acknowledge and have the reflection of truth for yourself. But don't lie to yourself about who you are. Every lie, even the quiet ones we tell ourselves, erodes our self-respect just a little bit at a time. Truth is heavy, but it keeps you upright. It's like more plates on the rack as you're squatting. And psychology backs that up. Dr. Richard Boyatzis studied leadership for decades, tracking what separates the people, or I should say the ones that people trust, from the ones that they just obey. And his research found that emotional self-regulation, the capacity to stay clear-minded under stress, is the foundation of real leadership. Staying clear-minded under stress. Because when you can stay clear-minded, you're an actual leader. People listening to you doesn't mean anything. If they trust you, you can become the compass they use when things start to fall apart, the one they can turn to. And that's what the code really is here, an internal constitution. Not some sort of list you tape to the wall and check it off every single day. It's something internal you live by. Your actions are going to write this list daily. And every decision you make either sharpens this code or dulls it. My code before was about control, control, control. For me, the code isn't about control anymore. It's about clarity. Honestly knowing where I stand so the world can't move me off of it. What do you do once you have your code? I'm putting it on you. This is where Pillar 5 comes in. You need a legacy. Extend that code. Once your code holds you, it naturally starts to hold others. And that's what legacy really is. It's not about wealth. It's not about reputation. It's about reliability. It's about being the man people can count on, especially when things get messy. I see it every day in the people around me. I see it in my students, some of the fighters I encounter, my friends, my family. And some of them are still rough around the edges, for sure. They're learning. They're still being shaped by life's pressure. Or they've gone through such an identity change that they're exposing new sides to themselves that are being shaped. Others have already started to discover their diamond nature. They're solid, they're grounded, they're quietly strong. And when I look at any of these people, I see the fire that I have, the fire that I had too. I see the mistakes. But I see that hunger to figure it all out. Now, I don't see this behavior as something to correct. No one's perfect. I see it as something to honor. I understand. I've been there too. And it reminds me that pressure isn't something to escape. It's something to grow through. Stay under that pressure long enough and it refines you. If the people who truly know me, on my deathbed, they can say, he never folded when it mattered, that's enough. That's the line I want to leave behind. I fucking hate this quote. But I like it at the same time. Just at this age, it hits a little too close to home. Once again, the quote from Dr. Peterson that always stayed with me. He said, "You should be the most reliable person at your father's funeral." Now that hits me hard. I'm the oldest son. But there can never be a better definition Because that's what real steadiness looks like. It's not about never feeling emotion. It's about being strong enough to carry it and still stand tall. That's the kind of strength I hope people feel. That's the kind of strength I hope people feel when they stand beside me. That I can carry that and I can still stand tall. I'm not emotionless, but I can carry my emotion much better than I used to because I don't just keep it inside. I have my code. I know how to use that emotion. And I know some of you are still discovering that. You keep it locked away. Especially guys like us. And you know exactly what I mean. We keep it completely locked away for safety. We have to learn to let it out, but it's about when you let it out, where you let it out, how you let it out. That's strength, being able to carry the emotion and still stand tall. Because you're looking to leave behind a legacy for yourself. Legacy isn't just something you leave behind. It's something you live out. Every single day. It's going to show up quietly in how you treat people when you're exhausted. How you choose restraint when anger tempts you. And how you hold your ground when everything around you starts to tilt. You have two choices. Every man leaves one of two choices behind him in his wake. One of chaos or one of order. And the way you live your code is going to determine which one you leave. I'll close on this. I'm still rebuilding. My job's uncertain at this point. That strike's still dragging out, so my responsibilities seem to shift every single week. But even with my main job gone at the moment, somehow my foundation feels stronger than ever. Because I know who I am beneath the titles. If I lived my life as a teacher and that was my identity, right now I'd be in turmoil. Yes, it's a part of me. It's one of those diamond facets. But it's not my absolute foundation. Identity, purpose, mission, code, legacy. These aren't boxes you tick off and move past. They're loops. They're seasons you keep circling through as life changes. It's not just a linear path, and once you reach the legacy, you're done. You're going to have to keep coming back to that identity. Keep coming back to purpose, mission, code, legacy again and again. And each time you come back to them, you understand them a little deeper. Be kind to yourself. If you're lost right now, good. This is where the real work starts. I want you to sit still for a minute. Trying to find who you are when everything else gets quiet. Then move. Not to escape, but to build. Find some purpose through your actions. Shape a mission around responsibility. Write a code that holds you steady when life doesn't. Then you have to live it. Sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, but always consistent. Gonna finish metaphorical here. Diamonds don't form under praise. They form under pressure. So you need to stay in the pressure. That's it for today's episode of From Chaos to Code, Rebuilding the Iron Mind. If something in this hit you, take a second to sit with it before you scroll away. Write it down, apply it, share it with a brother who might need to hear it. The whole goal here isn't perfection, it's progress. Real men doing the real work of getting stronger, clearer, and more grounded every day. If you want to keep these conversations going, subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. And if you want to stay around after the episode, I'll be releasing tracks I've made using my own writing and AI music development. Each episode will feature a new track in a variety of genres that I use to express myself. Keep the chaos in check and keep the code alive. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening.
I've learned you in the dark, loved you when no light could reach. There is something inside of you that's hard to explain, but I know it. If I lost you, I'd be lost too. Your name is my mantra. I don't wanna miss you when you're gone. Kiss you with my eyes closed. Even in the dark I'll find you. Fragments of me are pieces of you. I love you in every lifetime. I saw the divine in you, in the quiet moments when no one else could see. Adore me with your truth. Show me your darkness, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Unlovable, they called you, but I saw more. Your name is my mantra. I don't wanna miss you when you're gone. Kiss you with my eyes closed. Even in the dark I'll find you. Fragments of me are pieces of you. I love you in every lifetime. I've kissed the edges of your scars, loved the broken pieces. Even when you couldn't see the beauty, I don't need the light to find you. I've always known where you hide. Even your chaos is my calm. Your name is my mantra. I don't wanna miss you when you're gone. Kiss you with my eyes closed. Even in the dark I'll find you. Fragments of me are pieces of you. I love you in every lifetime. The nights are long without you near, but I feel you in the silence, in the spaces between my thoughts. You're the quiet truth I hold on to. If you show me your darkness, I'd still call it light. Your name is my mantra. I don't wanna miss you when you're gone. Kiss you with my eyes closed. Even in the dark I'll find you. Fragments of me are pieces of you. I love you in every lifetime. If I lost you, I'd lose myself too. There's no part of you that doesn't feel like home. Your name is my mantra. I don't wanna miss you when you're gone. Kiss you with my eyes closed. Even in the dark I'll find you. Fragments of me are pieces of you. I'll love you in every lifetime.